All right. All right. Here we go. Getting into another stream here on this great and amazing Thursday evening here on the hour. Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Devious Four Eyes, the glitch of Twitch, and I am here to present yet another amazing Mentorship Monday. Well, I'm perusing the Mentorship Monday posts off of the /r cybersecurity subreddit. There's a lot of great posts there. A lot of people come to ask some really interesting questions, be it, how to start your career, or how to, what kinds of things you can do to specialize in a particular direction. Really just all things related to cybersecurity. And I encourage you to post your own questions there if you are interested in learning more. As always, you're also welcome to post whatever sort of questions you might have in the stream chat. And we'll go ahead and get going here with some of our first questions. Okay, so let's see. What do we got? From CSRF Lover. Hey, everybody. Just making a post looking to hear some stories. We can certainly share some. Let's see what else. Interested in cybersecurity and pen testing, and want to know how to proceed. Like to know where you are now and what moves you think were valuable to get there. Did certifications change the game? Did you make some awesome personal projects? Did you know the right people at the right time? Okay. All right. Yeah. So I will put a caveat right at the very top that my experience is probably not necessarily, doesn't necessarily neatly align with, some folks, or even most folks. I am a career changer, having gotten into cybersecurity from a totally unrelated career in the United States military, right? As I approached the end of my active duty service, I wanted to pivot into tech more generally, and ended up landing in cybersecurity by way of Department of Defense contracting, right? There are some really, really prominent DoD contractors out there that are very, very veteran friendly. Think Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Booz Allen Hamilton, all these really prominent brand names there that you're likely familiar with if you operate in the DoD circle. Anyways, I got sort of swept up into them and offered a role in the GRC space, right, to help progress various systems belonging to the federal government through a process known as ATO, or authorization to operate. And through my initial experiences there, was really the beneficiary of seeing cybersecurity at a more holistic level, right? GRC is an awesome space to see how not just the granular technical controls contribute to an organization's cybersecurity posture, but also things like policy and training, and you're interviewing folks to understand do they are they aware of various actions they're meant to take under particular circumstances. You perform physical inspections, account for an inventory of hardware, and so on and so forth. And that really, really large picture was a wonderful learning experience to see. I did learn also, that GRC is not for me, right? I didn't want to continue shaping my career in that direction, and instead wanted to get more technical with the work. But that's not to say that GRC is not a good line of work within cybersecurity, or is not otherwise valuable. It's fantastic. And absolutely something that is great. To get more like to address your question more specifically, I would say that you know I got my way into cybersecurity through military service, right? And that's actually one of the avenues that I suggest people consider if they're going to join into cybersecurity, right? Like military service is a common vector for getting in. It has, of course, it's they're not without its own risks, but it can equip you with a stable income. It can take folks that otherwise don't have transferable skills. Well, not transferable skills, but like the military as an institution is well adapted at taking people who don't really know how to do anything and make them minimally capable of performing a particular task, cybersecurity included, right? And so the point here is that you don't need to have a huge slew of qualifications about you in order to be to land work in the military, right? Recruited to do cybersecurity work. And there's a bunch of benefits that come with that, especially in the United States military. I won't pretend to know, for militaries outside of the US, what that might look like, but, certainly consider it, right? And it has a long tail in terms of benefits for veterans. So certainly something to think about. Let's see. What's the next question here? This is a huge one. They're a NOC. Okay, so from Kiddo Noob, they started as a NOC 1.5 years ago for permanent residency. Okay. They discovered a vulnerability and got a security engineer role. Hey, congratulations. Okay. Got it at pay. And you've been doing a lot of stuff. You are underpaid compared to your seniors who made, looks like almost triple what you're currently making. And so you've assumed all their duties. Okay. All right, so you want to ask for a raise, but you're not sure because you're recently promoted. Hey, I would argue that your recent promotion was, I guess, a perfect time to ask for a raise, right? Because you are assuming new functional responsibilities, and at least from your timetable, you are taking on the actions, right? The responsibilities that were of your seniors, right? You are taking on more work than what you were doing previously as a network engineer, and assuming not only just doing more work, but assuming more responsibility for it, right? So yeah, I would say that you are. I don't know how you found out how much your seniors were making, because that, like, usually people aren't privy to knowing each other's compensation information, but however you found out about it, yeah, it's perfectly appropriate to ask for a raise. I would make sure, though, if you are going to ask for it, you need to be prepared for them to come back and say no, right? And what would you do if they said no, right? So I think that if you're really, really happy about where you are working at, would just sort of game play it out in your mind, right? If they came back and said, no, we're not going to give you the raise, would you start looking for other forms of employment, right? Or, is this a really great work environment? Otherwise, are there other sort of benefits to this job that have gone without being said in your comment that you would be okay with? And that's really kind of like the condition where we're at, right? Because if I were you, right, I would probably, unless again there is something about that has gone unsaid about this job that you particularly are keen on. Maybe you really enjoy your coworkers, the work is pretty stable, it's safe, it's consistent, so on and so forth. Like I would be already looking for other forms of work to to entertain, like not necessarily because I want to change jobs, but because I want to know what my market value is in interviewing around elsewhere, right? And at the very least, come to exercise the skills of interviewing, which you most people are not naturally adept at doing. So yeah, I would be entertaining interviews elsewhere for all the benefits that come from there, and at the same time, just be confident in asking for your raise with the like play out in your mind what happens if they say no, right? Like how are you going to feel about that? Like if it would hurt, if you feel that you are wronged that way, if you're slighted, if it's unacceptable, well then you already know that your answer should be looking for work elsewhere. Good question and good luck. All right, scrolling down, let's see who else we have in the queue. Okay, from Mental Owl 2285, they're looking at transitioning into cybersecurity, and they have a profile that doesn't handle pressure very well and prefers working something more technical on your own work and not involving others. Cybersecurity has like a pop culture sort of reputation and panache as being, like a bunch of like techie, geeky people that, work in their hoodies apart from everyone else, and like that you just like operate within your own domain. When in fact, cybersecurity is tightly coupled with working with other people, right? Because you are ultimately in a cybersecurity role looking to secure someone else's stuff. And so you are always talking to someone else, right? Maybe it's an internal client, right? Like you're securing your developers code, you're securing developers code for the same employer that you work for, or it might be in a consultancy position, right? Where you are going and like looking over some other client elsewhere for an engagement, right? But there is constantly interaction with other people. All right, so moving through here. So imagine that in entry-level cybersecurity roles, this kind of situation might be frequent. Yeah, exactly. I want to know is if you progress in the profession, is it possible to work in cybersecurity in a relatively calm manner? Yeah, I mean, yeah. It depends, right? Like working in cybersecurity doesn't innately mean that your hair is on fire all the time, right? Different organizations and different kinds of work lend themselves to being more or less like panic driven, right? I stated at the top of the stream that I used to work in GRC, for example, right? And that is really stable work. Well, it was until recently, what with all the crazy stuff that's happening in the federal government for employees more generally. But that as an aside, GRC is typically quite stable work. Moreover, you have if you are working in-house, generally your work tends to be more stable and less panicky. When you're in a consultancy, you feel the pressure to, one, remain billable, but also two, like you need to be results driven, right? Because you are, as a consultant, looking to produce money for your consulting agency, right? Be it at the Big Four or, like, I don't know, Coalfire or whoever, like whatever sort of cybersecurity consultancy that exists out there that you're working for. So it depends on the role, it depends on the team and the organization. What else do you have here? The red team seems more attractive. Oh, wait. I want a place where I can work and above all maintain your mental health. And when you want to be well paid. The red team seems attractive, but I also want to know. Yeah. Okay. So a couple points here. First, red teaming or just offensive work more generally, if we're talking like to extend this to include penetration testing, is incredibly competitive to get into. It's really, really challenging. And for that matter, most of the work involving a red team or like offensively oriented work is usually in that consultant capacity, right? Most organizations don't have a compelling business need to keep a an offensive security oriented team on their payroll. Right? Like McDonald's doesn't have to hack anybody, right? It's not it's not a part of their business model. Walmart doesn't need to hack anybody. So in those instances, you are generally looking at these organizations having, some sort of compliance reason where they have to have a pen test done on their stuff maybe once a year. And so then you have these consultancies, these either big or shops like you might see through KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, so on and so forth, like the big four, and smaller boutique shops that specialize in that. So this is all to say that like it's very, very competitive to get in those roles. So you're likely not going to start in an offensive position. But also, if you're trying to avoid that like engagement stress of like working with other people, red teaming is definitely not the space to be in. For one, you are, client oriented, right? So you have your work is accountable. You effectively you are, if you're not part of drawing up business, depending on how your organization is structured, you're definitely having to interact with the client to, check in and make sure that the scoping document is well understood by all parties, that you have the credentials that you need, and that, like you're constantly talking back and forth with them. And like, not only that, but you're also justifying your work, right? So when you have a finding or you come across something that you believe is a finding, your clients typically, it's not uncommon for your clients to want to press back against what you have as saying like, well, no, actually that's not really it's not a bug, it's a feature, right? Like it's not something to worry about or to downplay the impact and severity. So yeah, it's I'm not sure red teaming is like fits what your constraints are that you're looking for. So you have more anything else? As far as like, trying to learn more about what sort of exists out there, right? Like what kinds of resources are available. I again would put you into looking at some of the resources that we have here. Again, if you're tuning in, you can look at this in the About Me section of twitch.tv/devious4eyes. And here we can go and check out related roadmaps. We have a bunch of resources here that show, different ways you can look into like how to get into cybersecurity, what are the various roles that exist out there, what are their functional responsibilities, so on and so forth. So yeah, hope that helps. All right, let's see. What else have we got? Who is this? Let's see. SMR1, going through some coursework for SOC, struggling to find a corporate level cyber range accessible to individuals. Any cyber agents that offer this level of immersion? Great question. I am not the person who can really answer this. I haven't really gone shopping around for this level of training and immersion in there. I would be surprised if it doesn't exist. I know, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the tool set. There's a, you can look into it. I can't remember what it's called, but there is a kind of tool out there that will auto generate an Active Directory environment with a slew of different sort of misconfigurations to it, which, for want of a more sleek solution, is a neat way to pop up like a home lab version of this. What is it? What is this called? Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. It's like Bad Blood or something like that. Active Directory script vulnerable pen testing git. None of this looks familiar. I'm gonna have to come back to this. I don't remember what it's called, but I'll look it up. I'm sure I can find it again. Next question. Who do we got here? From Specific Record 9789, you're looking to shift careers into cybersecurity, and you're a veteran with a bachelor's in civil engineering and an MBA. What kind of transferable skills are out there? Hey, that's a really good question. So yeah, your story has some parallel to my own, right? So I was an officer within the United States Marine Corps in an unrelated capacity. I had my bachelor's in political science, of all things, and ended up pivoting out, right? First through a DoD contractor, and then eventually into commercial enterprises for more technical work. I would say that so I found that soft skill wise, there's a lot more demand for hard skills in cybersecurity than there is for transferable soft skills. Certainly being able to speak to, C-level executives and, congressmen and, whoever you need to, right, in a confident and communicative way will serve you. But like in actually performing the work, right, depending on what it is you envision doing for yourself in this domain, like if you want to do, for like what I do in application security engineering, like those are nice, but they are secondary to the actual hard skill sets themselves. And so I ultimately went back to get my master's degree in computer science, which helped sort of like me personally feel like I was qualified to do the work. But I also got a huge slew of varying certifications that were out there. I have performed a number of job hops to do increasingly technical work, including penetration testing. So like that's kind of what you're looking at needing to develop if you're trying to get into that side. But yeah, importantly, I don't know what it is that you want to do, so I don't know like how transferable your stuff is. I would say the easiest hop is definitely with the Department of Defense. Again, that's your like Lockheed, Booz Allen Hamilton, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, those kind of guys. As far as like courses and certifications, well, first, have a look at, we've got a wide range of resources available for, I made this, I have a wide range of resources available for you to consider looking at as a veteran looking to transfer into the space. You are likely going to be made aware of many of these on your way out. But if not, come check these out. Again, that's on twitch.tv/devious4eyes. In the About Me section, you can see our Teachable Moments slide deck. Moving right along. Okay, who is this? So, as a guy who wants to get into cybersecurity, foundations are a must, and I said broadly that we have to get A+. I disagree, but neither here nor there. My question is that there's a platform called TCM Security. I'm familiar with it. I have enrolled in the malware analysis coursework available through them. It's great. Who's it? Who is it that made the course? I know they're a fellow Marine, but I can't remember. They're a fellow Marine who went on like this backpacking journey through the Appalachian Trail recently. Anyways, I'm deviating away. What's your question? Right. Okay. So they have this free course, not equivalent to the A+, but it's hands-on. You're not planning to get the A+. Studying from Professor Mister seems boring. So should I go for DCM security instead? You want the knowledge, not a job. Okay. So, boy howdy. There's a couple things to look at here. There's a couple different ways that we could approach this, right? First is, if you are looking at engaging in cybersecurity as a hobbyist instead of professionally, then really just do whatever the heck you want to do, right? Like, it's not incumbent on you to follow prescribed paths that optimize your employability in the space, right? Because that doesn't make sense because you're not trying to find work here. But if that changes, then yes, I would say you probably are going to need to engage in activities that, or at least like efforts that aren't necessarily appealing to you personally, but are appealing to employers professionally. Again, that as an aside, because that doesn't appear to be your priority. Yeah, just do whatever the heck you want to do. If you find value in TCM Security's trainings because it sort of resonates better with how you learn, then there's nothing wrong with that. All right, let's see. Next question. Okay. From Leme May guy. Wild to see the cybersecurity subreddit censoring information about the massive breach in the US government. And okay, moving right along. There's not really any mentorship to be had here. That's just exclamation. Right. Move away 10. Hey everyone, reaching out because I need some guidance. I recently completed a 12-week cybersecurity bootcamp and earned the certificate. I've got some thoughts on that, but let's keep reading. Before this, you worked as a chef, okay? And you're really looking to make it go this, and you're struggling to land a job, okay? So I'm currently working towards your Security Plus certification, okay? And you can't afford to fail. Yeah. Look, I'm not trying to downplay that, like, your circumstances or that, or whatever, right? But like, I'm trying to get to your question here. If you have any advice, it's not even a question. It's just sort of like asking. Okay, so here's the deal that I would say, right? If we let's bring this back up. So when we talk about getting started in cybersecurity, like there's three sort of steps initially that you're going to want to take, right? Your first one is the least costly to you, right? It's free. It's just your time that you're allocating, and that's finding out more about like what constitutes cybersecurity, what kinds of jobs and what those functional responsibilities look like. Really learning as much as you can and trying to dispel your preconceptions brought onto you by pop culture, which is really, those are steps that you should be taking, regardless of whatever job field you want to go into, right? Like if you want to become, I don't know, a professional athlete, you likely should, be trying to learn about the ins and outs of playing the game, not like the sport, but like how you create a career, right? What does those avenues look like? Beyond that, then your next step, right, is sort of buoying your fundamentals, and you're starting to dip into coursework and things. This is really just making sure that, like, engaging in low cost or free activities. So all that you are expending is your time and your labor. But this should reinforce, like, that in fact, this is in fact interesting to me, and I am developing my skills, and like I'm getting an appreciable understanding of what kind of investment is going to be required from me if I'm really going to go whole hog into this. Because the last step here are your big ticket items. And I'm talking things like degrees, cyber adjacent employment, military service in my case, right? Like, and certifications, right? These are things that are not just going to cost you your time and your labor, but also money, right? Like a formal degree is not cheap. From those, right? From those, you're probably going to look at one of these three sort of avenues into cybersecurity, right? Shift L. Oh, wait. Oh, that's the pen. The laser pointer is just L. Oh, this is nice. Yeah. So, so your three common ways in, right? One is through university. So here we're talking, your degree granting programs. Usually, this is an avenue pursued by young people. We want to supplement this with internships and as able certifications. Another one is military service, right? So this I have alluded to before, but you're like ideally setting yourself up into a military occupational specialty that is aligned to cybersecurity, and that can really set you up to launch into a cybersecurity career in a cost-effective way. Or your last is your DIY, and a lot of people look at this DIY as being cert-centric, right? Like they accumulate a bunch of different certs, but that's not what we want to do, right? Like you don't want to get stuck into this pattern of just like, oh, if I accumulate this cert and this cert and this cert and this cert, then I'll be good to go. Like what you need is to cultivate a work experience, like some your work history on your resume. That is going to do a lot more for you than a bunch of certs, right? I'm talking, trying to get into roles like web development or systems administration, network engineering, so on and so forth, right? Like landing in roles that foster the technical skill set that you can carry over into cybersecurity. Alternatively, if you're presently employed, looking to assume more cybersecurity or security-centric tasks and functional responsibilities. So like you may be a chef, right? But maybe you are interested in, looking into and understanding the regulatory standards and laws that apply to managing the food stock, right? I'm kind of just spitballing here, but like the idea that in concept, in principle, is that you have you're trying to uh, develop the that work history, right? So that's that. Back to the questions. Okay. Soup. Scrolling on along. Well, what did other people say? Right. Uh, a network of colleagues. Sure. Is it meant to be entry level? Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So from Littletoe 9707, you've been working as a junior penetration tester for about a year. No mentorship, you feel. You've been finding vulnerabilities. Great. You feel, I'm getting the sense you're feeling underappreciated. Well, hang on. You feel like you're doing bug bounty hunting on your own, but with no bounty. Are you not being paid? So if you're not being paid, that's you aren't a junior pen tester. You are like you're free labor, right? This seems really weird. So I would make sure that you have some form of compensation going your way for this, but two, voice your concerns internally to your immediate leadership, right? Your immediate and more senior leadership. Just because you are part of a hierarchy, right, where you may have team leads or project managers and so on and so forth, just because there are people that are in these positions doesn't necessarily mean that, well, no, let me clarify. Just because you are working around other penetration testers does not necessarily mean that they are also adept mentors, right? You can have someone who is perfectly qualified to do the work and knows the technical side inside and out and is very well versed at understanding what it is that you are doing, right, as a junior, but hasn't bothered to cultivate or exercise the skills to make the people around them better, right? Being a mentor it requires some work, right? And like a kind of je ne sais quoi, right? Like you when you find people who help you do better, you can kind of understand what those sort of relationships look like. And it's disappointing when, the people that you are working with professionally are not fulfilling those roles. But, I would say that, like that is not necessarily their function, right? In your peer group, your immediate leadership, right? Your team leaders, your managers, so on and so forth. Part of their responsibility is to make sure that their subordinates are being adequately supported. And if you feel like you're not getting that support, that is something that is good feedback to them, right? They can work with that. Like I would say that you would probably need to be a little bit more specific than how you have outlined this, right? Saying, try to be quantifiable, right? Where, like within the last 30 days, you have discovered X number of critical vulnerabilities, Y number of high, and Z number of medium, et cetera, across so many clients, blah, 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 blah. You have solicited feedback on this day, this day, this date, and this date, and received none, and so on and so forth, right? Like the idea here is, you want to be very, you don't want to be ambiguous about your ask, because it is hard for people to try and meet your needs if you don't know what your needs are. So I would be very, very particular about that and try and refine what it is you're looking for. Like what does what is it that, like, what kind of feedback are you looking for? Anyhow, I hope that your situation gets better. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I am a little leery about what you mean by no bounty, but, I'm sure the situation will improve. Yeah. I can tell that there are definitely people who are kind of upset about how the cybersecurity subreddit moderators are going about moderating, especially with relation to the situation in the United States and how the federal government is dismantling everything. But yeah, I'm I don't know. I think that the moderation team is trying to trying to avoid having the subreddit become dominated by a singular topic that is American centric, when in fact they have a much broader audience beyond that, and they try and keep it on topic. But I can appreciate the frustration. Like, there's, especially because I'm an American. I have worked within the federal government, and I am also quite concerned. All right, moving along. Could you please recommend some certs for DevSecOps? I cannot, but I do have resources for you to look at that could probably get you to where you need to go. If you do here, I think. No, not this one. Let's see. Here we go. So Paul Jeremy, it has a wonderful catalog of different certifications that map across various fields and domains within cybersecurity. You could probably shop around through here to find something that speaks to what it is that you want to do. Next question. Let's see. I don't know. So this Downtown Mango 3861 is asking for guidance in Hong Kong. I don't know if I can really speak to that. So I'm not sure I can help you here, my friend. Let's see. From Heavy Alfalfa 647. Working in ethical hacking for a year now. Okay, don't like the fact that you have to constantly study and keep up with new techniques. Yeah, well, that's kind of the truth, regardless of what, not just on the offensive side, but defensively, regulatory. Yeah, like there's a lot that, I mean, when you stop investing in your own aptitude, you start to place a expiration date on your career, or at least it feels like at times, right? Blue team roles seem less demanding in terms of constant upskilling. I feel like this is a grass is greener situation. Okay. Given my interest in hacking but reluctance to study, what path would you recommend? You are going to need to, regardless of which field you end up going into, you're going to end up needing to study, right? Because in cybersecurity, you are paid to know your stuff so you can protect client systems, data, networks, code, so on and so forth. So you need to know about those things. And being in the domain of technology, there are advents in technology that are very, very fast in their evolutions, right? Like, if we roll back the clock 3 years, LLMs as we know it did not exist, right? Well, I should clarify. They were not as prolific as they were, right? ChatGPT hit the scene out of OpenAI, and all of a sudden there's an explosion of these AI models all over the place being incorporated everywhere. And so, it's only been around for 3 years, and yet already there are people scrambling to like be experts on, how to secure these things, when in fact the academic research still hasn't really gotten a solid grasp in totality how these things, how these black boxes work. So, I guess like you are always going to be having a need to study, whether you're on the defensive or the offensive side. Even in the GRC space, right? Like, you're talking about knowing the changing human factors, laws, standards, and regulations that apply to these systems, in conjunction with these technological changes all the time. It's, I don't know, like, I guess, do you need to be studying constantly? Not necessarily, right? You can establish some relatively like stable paces, a relatively stable pacing to like how many certifications or training courses or whatever that you decide to elect to engage with year over year. But you are going to be needing to invest in that in the long run. So yeah, as far as like what to do, I certainly wouldn't choose to pursue a career you don't want to do to try and avoid getting out of studying, but you're going to be needing to invest in yourself regardless. So best of luck. From Obby7, is there anyone who hasn't had a technical background that broke in? Yeah. As a matter of fact, I am one, right? I studied political science for my undergraduate degree. I went and joined the U.S. Marine Corps to serve in a non-technical not even a cybersecurity function. My military occupational specialty involved directing air traffic. Like, you can definitely, there are avenues for getting into cybersecurity without having that technical background. However, and there's a really big asterisk here, if you plan on doing that, you need to be able to be willing and able to invest in yourself to attain those technical qualities, right? If you're not willing to do that, then you need to be able to be flexible enough to meet whatever the demands of the professional domain are, as opposed to hoping that the professional domain can flex to meet you, right? I hope that makes sense. Next question. What good free sandbox simulations helped you get your job? And what's your current title? Yeah, so I am a application security engineer, right? I help secure code and features to new code. And, I work alongside developers within the sort of SDLC to make these products that get released safer, right? And likewise, as features of code are retired, I make sure that we're not introducing new vulnerabilities by removing those capabilities, right? As for like the good sort of sandbox or like simulations, the trainings that are available, my current favorite is probably the Academy service offered by Hackbox. This is pretty solid. It's pretty well curated. When I was a student at in my master's program, they had a great rate. I think it was like $8 a month gets you access to almost everything that's available in there. And certainly everything that you need to get the CPTS, which is their what's it called? Certified Penetration Testing Specialist, I think it is. CPTS, hack the box. Hey, yeah, got it. So, yeah, I really like that platform. I'm also looking at, what was this one called? At Hextree. So it's, let's see, hextree.io. Hextree.io. And so well, depending on who you are, you may not necessarily know who this individual is. This guy is Live Overflow, right? He has a YouTube channel for talking cybersecurity topics. He's this guy out of Germany. He's really, really good at what he does, and puts a lot of quality into his content, some great educational stuff. He is trying to grow his own training base out of here, and I've been looking at some of the offerings that they have. But like more than this, you also have your standard like Try Hack Me. You have Over the Flow. Over the Wire. The Bandit series. It depends on what it is specifically that you're trying to look for, I guess, to get at what you want. Let's see. Next question. Okay, from No Possibility 9165. They recently stepped into, looks like, some disaster recovery. Offer to pay for training, so you're looking for recommendations on a specific course of certifications to get you up to speed. There's a variety of options, but it depends on like what's your budget, right? Like what are you paying for this training out of pocket? And oh my gosh, you've been working in this field for 20 years? I guess so. My first question is, what's your budget? My second question is, like, what specifically is it that you're trying to foster, right? Like, are you trying to, I can't imagine that there's like necessarily a skill set that you're trying to develop, right? Because if there were like particular tools that you wanted to know, vendors have all kinds of trainings aligned to them. And so that would be pretty straightforward, like Splunk or AWS or whatever, right? So if you're just trying to understand more procedurally what it is that you do, I might defer to your teammates, because you're saying that they are pretty senior and have been around a long time. They would likely be able to recommend some good stuff as it relates to the job that you are doing. But yeah, again, if you're otherwise uncertain, we could go and consult our list of offerings here, right? Again, this is available on twitch.tv/devious4eyes under the About Me section for teachable moments. And you can see the slide deck and all the resources there are that have to offer. Okay, we are approaching 1 hour of streaming. So let's see if we can wrap up with a couple of, try and rapid fire some of these. From Goat Dude, there's software engineer. Is there any chance of moving to senior AppSec from senior software engineering? Maybe. It really depends on the organization that you're looking to hop from. Generally speaking, just because you're good at software engineering doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be good at leading other application security engineers. There is some correlation, but like what the focus and the pipelines and processes of one do not necessarily relate to the other. So I'm not sure it qualifies as down leveling. This, I mean, you're talking about with AWS. So if you're making an internal move, you're probably looking at a form of down leveling. If you're moving outside of your organization, it's potential that you could like still land in the senior. Although I'll be candid, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think that if I am working with someone who has never worked in AppSec before, like, and I'm reporting to them, I would hope that they know their stuff. But we'll see. Are the AppSec salaries on the senior level comparable to dev roles? Yeah, more or less. Again, so compensation is more tightly tied to your region, right? So wherever you are relative to being in Canada, your seniority, and then your employer, right? So like if you are near a metropolitan area, your compensation is going to be higher than if you were in like the Rust Belt of America. If you were more, if a senior staffer is likely to make more than a junior staffer, all else being equal, right? If they're living in the same location, if they're working for the same employer, like the seniority will offset that typically. And lastly is the employer, right? So like if you're working in big tech doing a job and all else being equal, that same job working for a smaller boutique firm definitely won't match the compensation there. So like, comparing salaries there, you would want to try your best bet to get insight for like some manner of parallel is consulting resources like levels.fyi or blind. Those will be able to get you more like candid feedback. But obviously when you're engaging anonymous reporting resources, you have to sort of take those numbers with a grain of salt. Is it hard to find AppSec jobs nowadays? It's hard to find any kind of work in cybersecurity nowadays. And that's just because things are circumstances are very anti-labor more generally. We have swung quite a ways away from the so-called Great Resignation coming out of 2000 to 2022. 2020 to 2022. So yeah, it's just times are tough. I've been solicited by, I don't know, maybe 4 to 6 recruiters in the last 2 to 3 weeks. But that doesn't mean that those are offers, right? That's just people who want me to apply to their jobs. But it's tougher. It's tougher than it has been. And your best cert to get for application security, oh geez. I would say probably one of the more offensively oriented ones and in a practical application capacity. So, for a free dip, you could look at the what's it called? The Web Security Academy offered by Portswigger Labs. I've got this one I just show. Portswigger. Yeah, their Web Security Academy. This is an amazing resource. It's freely available labs. You make an account and then you can walk through all their content. It talks about like cybersecurity vulnerabilities. It gives you hands-on labs that you can work through and check. It's really meant to be geared towards working with their Burp Suite Pro software that they also sell. But you can make do with a lot of the exercises through their free community edition, or like an alternative like Zap, which is not officially supported, but you can still like do quite a bit with it. So, have a go at looking at that. That's probably, for your low cost like bit of training right off the get-go, might want to get oriented around there. Yeah. With that, we are just past the hour mark. And I hope y'all have found this engaging and enjoyable. And until next time, I will see you all later. Bye.